So, Dementia Part 2, tell us more about that.
Well, Dementia Part 2 is a movie about, it's a horror comedy about a handyman who, in order to keep his parole in order, takes a job at this old woman's house doing basic handiwork around the house. And she's a little strange and starts to kind of put him through some weird paces and has him do some strange jobs around the house. And as it goes on, he begins to realize there's more to it than meets the eye. She's not just affected by dementia, it's something different than that and much worse. And he's got to contend with an ever-escalating nightmare of circumstances as he begins to find strange things around the house and deal with her strangeness. Yeah.
And you made this film in a kind of a mental short amount of time, haven't you?
It was totally mental. It was, we made the film as part of we were challenged to make it for another film festival that actually, I believe the idea happened here at Frightfest. The producer of the movie knows a guy who runs a festival. Graham's dancing over there. The producer knows a guy who runs a festival in Chicago called Cinepocalypse, and they reserved a slot for an unmade film, and they basically told me and my buddy Mike, who co-directed the movie with me, we're going to, from the day we announced the schedule of the festival, you guys have to make a movie in a month for when, to show at the festival. And so we decided the best way to go about it was to make a sequel to a movie that Mike made called Dementia, which is Dementia is a dramatic thriller. It's a pretty straightforward movie. We decided, well, let's make this a goof and kind of a midnight movie, and make it a bit tongue in cheek and call it Dementia Part 2, and have nothing to do with the first movie. So that's what we did.
Because you're working with such restrictive time constraints, does that allow you to just have this very kind of visceral, instinctive reaction to the story that you just putting your ideas down and just running with it without having to overthink it?
Yeah, and I think that really benefited us, actually. We didn't have time to think too much about story beats or was something going to work. We just had to go. And I think we had to, which is hard because you got to steer away from having, the script couldn't be too setup and payoff heavy. We were just operating on instinct, and really it all boiled down to what made us laugh. Like if something grossed us out or made us laugh and we knew it was doable in the time frame, we just went for it. And the thing that really makes it work best is we know great actors. Our friends are all great actors. So Graham, Najarra, Suzanne, they really understood the tone and knew how to deliver that kind of movie.
And react.
And react in the moment. And they also improvised amazing stuff. Like Suzanne and Graham both, and Najarra, I mean everybody just had incredible instinct with how to best sell the moment, and we would play around a lot.
When you're writing the part, you're also in it. So you're writing things that are going to gross you out, and you're going to be the recipient of that. Were you kind of economic with what you were going to allow, what you were going to do to yourself?
Well, I know a lot of actors wouldn't want to put them through anything particularly gross or gory or slimy. I have always been, I'm the kind of actor that I think story is the most important thing, and I want the audience to be happy, and I have no problem putting myself through hell if I think it's going to get a reaction, because I just want to, and I think we succeeded in a few spots in this. So, honestly, if we came up with something super gross or gory, I said, hey, you know what, let's play this to the hilt. Let's make it even nastier and even grosser, and we did. We went for it.
What's great about that as well is that your other actors are going, you know what, if you're prepared to do that, we're investing, and we're going to get stuck in and trust you because
yeah, once you get that ball rolling and you commit, everyone else wants to do the same thing, and they want to bring on the nasty and be just as committed. And I think that's the great thing about these actors, and I gotta especially give props to Suzanne. I've never seen anyone work as hard as she did on this movie with the instincts that she has and be so willing. And I'm not trying to be ageist when I say this, but she's, an older woman, but she was so game to do all of these crazy things, and she totally delivered. And I was so thrilled to be working with her on this, and she was, right there with me. We just jumped in and said, yes, let's do it. Let's bathe ourselves in ultra slime and blood.
Tell us about Dementia and why it was such an attractive project for you.
Why it was such an attractive project. I was given a lot of leeway to develop the character. the Matt Mercer and Mike Teston are men that I've worked with before on other projects. Very easy to work with, and I like Mike's eye in particular. He's got this kind of Hitchcockian outlook, and it's just so easy to work with. I think Dementia was our first film together, if I'm remembering correctly.
We were in Contracted Phase 2 together, but briefly, small, but yeah. Dementia Part 2, I mean, getting a chance to work with friends again, and also the challenge behind the film, because we only shot the film in 5 days, so I was up for that challenge. Like, that just sounded like an amazing time.
Yes, absolutely.
We're dealing with a sensitive subject, as well with dementia. Oh, perhaps not.
Pardon? You said we're dealing with
dementia as a subject. Yeah. Is that something that also was attractive for you to explore and find out a little bit more about yourself?
Well, it was, because what happened was that I found myself, it's so easy to go into that space for an individual to absolutely just leave this reality and go into another reality, and you just embrace it fully. And I wondered, I mean, I know that it's not anything like what people who truly have dementia go through on a day-by-day basis, but it gave me just a little inkling of what the possibility is.
And do you think that horror is a good genre to be able to explore that in a kind of a more intense way, really?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are a lot of serious things that you can explore through horror that make it a little more, makes it maybe easier to understand in a way, and kind of I mean, dark things, when you make them funny, like, that's just like kind of a release in a sense. So I think horror is an amazing way to explore multiple different things.
It's so true.
And we're here at Frightfest in the UK. Are you excited to be here?
I'm delighted. First time in London, first time at the festival. I am so thrilled.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. I love it here. I have been here before. This festival is like the best. So
It really is.
every year that I can come, yeah, it's totally a family. And every year that I can come, I'm here.
So Dementia 2, tell us more about that.
It is wild. It is bonkers. Your run-of-the-mill story about a ex-con that goes to work for an old woman who has black bile running out of her nose and seems to be very, very off. I play a total sleazebag parole officer named Reggie Bilford, who gets caught up in all the proceedings. One of the coolest things about this is that the whole film was script to screen, created in 1 month, which is, baffling that we were able to do this. And it's testament to Matt and Mike, who directed the film and put everything together. It was part of a filmmaker challenge. So yeah, we shot it in 4 days. They wrote it in like a couple of weeks. And then they wrote it in like less than a week. It was like 3 days or something. Then we filmed it in 4 days. Then they edited it, and then they put everything together, and then there was a movie. And I remember when I first saw the film, I went, "This is like so much better than I was expecting it to be." I not that I was expecting it to be bad, but when you make something that quickly, you don't expect that it's gonna be like a real film.
Production value.
Yeah, and it totally is. Like, it 100% works, and Matt and Mike did an amazing job. I mean, and Matt and Najarra and Suzanne are all incredible actors, and we all really just hit it off with each other with being able to riff and play and create something on the fly.
That's quite interesting as well, that even with the short time constraints, it seems like that there was time to kind of improvise to many degrees.
There totally was, and I think that is part of the reason why it's so special, is that we were really allowed to build and create this world, even though we had such constraints, because we had to go with our first instinct, and often you get caught up in trying to be so perfect on a film set, and so you do 50 takes of something, and here we could only do one take, and so do what feels right, and often what feels right is the best thing to do.
Did you go into your own kind of journey and finding out a little bit more about dementia and how that affects people, or is that best just left?
I think for this it was best, left to the side. Yeah, we did. So there is a Dementia Part 1, that has absolutely nothing to do with Dementia Part 2. But Mike Teston, who's a co-director of this, he directed Dementia Part 1, and I'm in that. I play a completely different character. But that film's a bit more serious and a bit more sobering, and it does talk about dementia as a disease. So we did touch on it there. But for Part 2, it's a pure midnight movie, Peter Jackson Dead Alive style roller coaster. So.
And I would imagine as well, working in such tight time constraints, there's a real collaboration and family feel on set, and just everybody mucking in and getting the job done.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, everybody was so focused, because we knew we had to be there. And then we said, well, we could either be miserable and stressed out, or we could have a good time. And so we had a good time and just worked really hard. And, everybody worked together to create something that I think is really special.
And here you are now in the UK.
Here we are in the UK. I know, it's great. It's how, how perfect is that we get to make something fun together, and then we get to come here and celebrate it with everybody else.